Hi folks, we've been doing videos this morning and we're going to do a video on a very complex and multifaceted subject now. And so this video will be introductory and then we will dissect it later with separate videos. This video is going to be on personal preparedness. Number one, and I don't know where to start, to be honest with you, but number one, people can live for weeks without food, but only a few days without water. And we just saw Hurricane Helene go through Asheville, North Carolina, which was personal to my wife because she lived in Asheville for 15 years. And we saw that too much water can make it so there's no drinkable water. And it's kind of ironic that too much water means you die of thirst or disease, but that's what happens. You get too much water and it pollutes all the city water systems. It pollutes creeks and rivers and ponds. You can't drink that water once there's been a big flood. So let's talk about water storage first. I was raised as a little LDS boy, a Mormon boy, and our family, even though we had a well and even though we had a generator, so when the power went out, we could pump water out of our well, our family always bought 55-gallon drums. They're big plastic drums. They got them through the LDS church in those days. They were leftover storage and shipping containers for lime juice and lemon juice for the restaurant industry. They were 55-gallon big blue drums. I just went on Google and searched for those kinds of things. There's a lot of companies making them. You need to have water storage, particularly if you're on a systemized city water type of a program. Those water let's back up. What's going to happen in LA when there's a big earthquake? I'll tell you what'll happen. The place is going to burn to the ground. Earthquakes start fires, especially big ones, and we know that LA will get a big one. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So if you don't have water storage in your garage, say 4 or 5 of those 55-gallon drums, how are you going to stay alive? Because greater LA's got 20 million people in it. They will die of thirst, or they'll drink polluted water and die of disease. Desperate people do desperate things. Order some water storage, especially if you're not on your own water system, like a well, like we are here. If you don't have that, what are you going to drink in the 2 weeks it takes them to sort out 20 million people? You can't drive out of town. The freeways will all be clogged and plugged, broken up by earthquakes. There will be no escape from LA or New York or Chicago or Miami. You're going to have to sit tight for a few weeks anyway and survive. Water is key. You don't need enough to shower with, you just need enough to stay hydrated and stay alive. Get your water storage in order. Next is food. I just did a video of our food storage and showed you how unsophisticated, simple it can be to have food storage. We have enough food. It's all dehydrated food with a 20-year shelf life. Again, ours is Wise Food Company. But babe, what's that place in Utah you just ordered stuff for the kids for?
Patriot Supply.
Yeah, Kim just got online and ordered emergency kits for all of our children, and we had them shipped to them. That's Patriot Supply. A little emergency supply kit with food and potable water could keep your kids alive in the time it takes for society and law enforcement and first responders to sort out these problems. And people just have short memories. I remember when Hurricane Katrina hit the New Orleans area, and people died because they had no drinking water. And of course, they died from fire, they died from drowning, they died from a lot of things. But bottom line is, all of that could have been prevented with a little preparation. You should have backup storage of any medications you're on that you rotate, because that stuff's date sensitive. You should have all kinds of food. Like I said, we've got enough food. Yeah, it's dehydrated, and I get sick eating dehydrated food, but it will keep you alive and healthy. Kim and I, just a couple years ago, were hunting up on the Alaska Peninsula for Alaska brown bear for her, and all we ate was dehydrated food. And you can see some of the brands. If you just want to go small time and don't want to order massive case lots like we did, here's some of the brands that we have used. It also makes great backpacking food for extended backpacking trips. One of the things we will get into as an addendum or part of this conversation about personal preparedness is bug out bags. You know, you should have a backpack with a handgun in it. Don't leave your handgun in it, but if you grab that pack and run, it should have a handgun. It should have ammo for that handgun. It should also have some rifle ammo, because on your way out the door, you pick up your bug out rifle, and that can just be as simple as a hunting rifle. But have spare ammo already packed in your pack, so you grab the rifle and go. There should be a water bottle, maybe a full water bottle or two. There should be fuel, just enough to do some preliminary water boiling or cooking. You want iodine tablets for water purification. I can go around these mountains where we live and drink all I want, even stagnant water, and I don't get sick because I grew up doing it. But my wife, on the other hand, a few years ago, we were on a backpack elk hunting trip in Montana, right off the Continental Divide. I was drinking out of the stream, so she drank out of the stream. Well, her body's not used to all that stuff. She got sick. And we have to presume it was from the water. We're gonna have her drink more stream water around here and see if it makes her sick every time, and then we'll know for sure. But you want water purification, you want water containers, you want something to cook with. And these little MSR stoves, one of these can go in your bug out pack too. They're tiny, they don't weigh squat, and they screw right into these propane bottles. You know, and I have cases and cases of these. I like the bigger ones for more of a drive-in or horse pack in camp. If I have to backpack it, I'm going with the little ones. But just watch how this thing comes together. It comes out of the box, and you just lift up the little legs. And it is just really cool how these things work. You can boil water, cook food. It screws right onto the top of the can. And then you just turn the little valve on. Whoops. Turn the little valve on. And these little jet boil stoves, which is really what they are, I mean, they can really boil some water. They can really cook food fast. You don't have to turn it up that high. You can be more sane. And
about how long does that one last?
You know, you'll get a couple, 3 hours at this level out of a can like this, maybe more. But they're small, and they allow you to do a modicum of cooking until your power comes back on, which, you know, honestly could be 2 or 3 weeks, especially in a really big urban area. You know, you could, where there's millions of people like LA, you could be in a protracted situation without food, which you can always kill a house cat or a dog and cook it and eat it. You can do that. Well, it's either that or die. My wife is smiling. And it's you either do that or die. Don't eat then. But you can always find a little bit of food, at least for the first few days.
Insects.
Yeah, well, you know, and stray dogs are going to get scarce too after about a week. Everybody's going to be eating them. Just take a trip to North Korea if you want to learn some good recipes for loose running dogs.
Also, those are a good heat source. We have heaters that go with the propane as well.
Yeah, you know, and you can get heaters that screw into these. And I suggest if you're going to really prepare for this kind of a thing, that you get the 5-gallon propane tanks, have 4 or 5 of those. Those will run for weeks and weeks, cooking and even heating. You got to be careful with the heating. You want breathable air, and you don't want to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. So ventilation matters if you're going to heat with this stuff. In a big house like this, in a big room, probably don't need to worry about ventilation because there's so many windows and doors with little cracks with air coming in that it's just not going to be a problem. Another thing you should have, in addition to a handgun or 2 with lots of ammo, fishing gear, and this is just a little breakdown fishing rod and a little reel full of fresh line. Just these little Panther Martin lures, there's 3 or 4 or 5 colors I use, little patterns that I use. You can catch fish anywhere with those things, any time of year just about. But let me caution you, it's good that you've got a hunting rifle that you can kill game with. It's good that you've got ammo. But if people start getting hungry, after a year of that crap or less, 6 months, you won't find a deer, you won't find an elk, you won't find a stray dog to eat. When people get hungry, they will kill it all and eat it. And you think there's a lot of game in the mountains? There's not that kind of game, not when everybody's shooting it willy-nilly without any restraint because they're hungry. That stuff will disappear overnight. Same with fishing. The neat thing about fishing is you don't know what fish sources have been fished heavily and what hasn't. I mean, you can find a whole pond full of trout in the right location that's been overlooked by everybody. And fish is a good way to subsidize your diet. It'll keep you alive. So these are a few things you should have on hand. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I grew up in a hunting society. My parents were raised in the Depression. They didn't waste anything. They thought about running out of stuff because they had gone through a period of their lives where they didn't have stuff. My mom, as a little girl, lived in southern Idaho and southern Utah both, Cedar City, Idaho, which gets plenty cold, but Montpelier and Preston, Idaho, she lived in, gets really cold in the winter. They had no wood for a stove or a fireplace. They lived in the cold. And they all slept together. They threw their blankets down on the ground, on the floor, and they all huddled up together to stay warm. It kept them alive. You really don't want to live that way. My mother had no choice because her father had died, and her mother, who had 9 children, was raising them all on her own. And she was a hard nose. She wouldn't accept quote unquote charity from the church or from neighbors or from anybody. So they were destitute. Well, people that have lived like that prepare. People that haven't lived like that don't even have a clue what to prepare for. But I'm telling you, your city services, including police, electricity, water, any kind of first responders can be overwhelmed instantly with a hurricane or with an EMP.
Which everyone's talking about.
Or with disease. I mean, I always thought COVID was a bit of a farce. I never went and got the vaccination everybody wanted me to because I didn't trust it. Hadn't been available long enough. Plus, I don't trust the government when they get on the TV and say, you have to do this and you have to do that. Yeah, right. And it turned out that 4 years later, we're right at the end of 2024 as this video is taped. 4 years later, COVID's still running around everywhere. But nobody's wearing masks. Nobody's talking vaccinations. Nobody's worried about it.
Well, the government is.
Well, the government's full of horse crap, and we know this on several fronts. Yeah, they want to promote vaccinations because their cronies own the Pfizers and all those companies, and they are making hundreds of billions of dollars because you're going and getting vaccinated. So yeah, they push that stuff. It's usually quite disingenuous. They just want their cronies to make money who kick back to them and keep them in power and line their pockets too. I'm not exaggerating. That's the way our world and society combined with our government is running. We will probably next do a bug out pack. We will cover that information. But damn it, I want you all to get water. Water, water, water. And if you don't have water, at least get the iodine tablets and a way to purify water. Get a way to go collect water. You should have some clean 5-gallon buckets so that if you have to make a journey to get potable water, you've got several buckets you can bring water back. These are all things that should be thought about. If you think our society is going to get better, you're mistaken. It will get worse before it gets better. At some point, it will probably get better. I don't know how many years from now that is. Be prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, heat, ability to get food, and not only that, and the ability to protect your food. If people know you've got a ton of food storage, which now everybody knows how much I have because I just went down and made a video in the garage, they're going to come looking for your food. They're going to come looking for your ammo. They're going to come looking for your guns.
Your water.
Yeah, they're really going to want your water. They may want your daughter too. So, folks, be prepared. My wife's frowning. What do you mean want your daughter? If you think desperate people will stop at your food and your water, you haven't really thought this through. When you get that pack mentality going, that crowd mentality going, they're going to kill you and have fun doing it. That's how disgusting some folks are. I'm not like that. Hopefully those watching this aren't like that, but there's plenty of people that are like that. Get prepared. It's coming. It's already been here. We've seen plenty of it. So that no matter what goes wrong, you're not dead in 3 or 4 days. And it may very well be that an EMP is going to be the major issue, but it could be an earthquake, it could be a hurricane, it could be another phony disease, or this time it could be a real disease. Be prepared. Don't just think that your government services that you pay for out of your taxes will always be there, because I'm telling you, just ask the people in New Orleans, ask the people in Asheville, North Carolina. Ask around. You'll find out when the poop really hits the fan, you're on your own.
Government's nowhere to be found.
Well, and government's just a bunch of empty promises anyway, from Social Security right on down. It's a bunch of bullshit. They want your money. They don't care about you. Now, hopefully, if we get real patriots in office like Trump, which his election is just in a few days, hopefully things will change. But most people, and I'm going to really offend some people here, and I don't mean to, most people that get into government employment want the 25-year pension and the cushy job. They don't really care. It's a job. Okay? I'm a creator. I go out and make my own living. Those folks wouldn't know the first thing about bringing an idea into reality. They want to sit at a desk, waste as much time as possible, and get their 25-year pension with bennies. That's what they want. Sorry if I offended you. If you work for like the Forest Service, if you work for the IRS, if you work for there's an alphabet soup of government agencies. If you work for them, I'm right.
Look how many people during COVID said they agreed with no masks, no vaccines, but they did it because they had to.
Yeah.
Because of their work or their government.
Yeah. One of my good friends just retired. He was a brain surgeon. He went and got triple vaxxed because the hospital that he did surgeries in required it. Well, last time I was with him in Africa, guess who got COVID? He did. So did I, but we got COVID. He's triple vaxxed. Go with your gut. Listen with caution to what you're told and be prepared. And then you're not a victim of your own lack of preparation. Again, next we will do bug out packs. This is just the opening salvo in personal preparedness. It's mostly concepts and ideas that are very real that you should be following. Again, be safe, have a great life. God bless.